a matchup between the Mountain West Conference and the Pac-12. If we currently look at matchup predictor, currently Colorado has an 88% chance of winning, and the game will be played in Colorado. And currently, the over/under is 61, and the spread is Colorado minus 24. So Vegas does not have this game being particularly close. However, the reason I wanted to cover this game is because of, like we talked about in the first segment, the comments that were made by head coach of Colorado State, Jay Norvell. So it just led me to want to cover this game, because this will be the first time that the energy surrounding Colorado in a game is one that's coming from a place of antagonistic origins. And I say that because Colorado State, obviously Jay Norvell made comments, that's not particularly attacking, but addressing actions of Deion Sanders that came out of nowhere. But it's going to be interesting to see how Colorado and Deion Sanders in his program and his team, how they want to manifest that energy, right? How they want to internalize that energy. And oftentimes, particularly, I'm going to use a boxing example, but this is attributed to all sports. Some teams, some players and teams, they thrive off of what's called like the dark side energy, or think about it in Star Wars, some some Force users, they lean towards like more so the dark side, as opposed to some Force users, they lean more towards the light side, i.e. your Jedi, and i.e. your Sith, in terms of people that use like the dark side energy. Then you have some people who draw from both sides, and those are called like your gray Jedi, right? I.e. like Ahsoka Tano. So we have people in sports that draw from like the dark side energy. And so when I say dark side energy, I mean that people that like to create narratives, or like to use that sort of antagonistic approach, and people that thrive off of almost like, for lack of better words, like conflict or contrived conflict. So Michael Jordan was an example of that, when he would make up stories in his own head about what opposing players or coaches had said about him, in order to get him to a level where he needed to in order for him to perform well. So Michael Jordan, an example of someone that used dark side energy in order to like galvanize him to play at a higher level. But also Michael Jordan is an example of a player that uses what we call light energy, in terms of someone that really just hones in on their craft. It implies that mental focus and thought process towards their craft and their skill set, and really hones in on that aspect, as opposed to relying on like outside circumstances or outside comments made by others. And we can look into the boxing, use a boxing example, someone like a Tommy Hearn was someone that used was another example of someone that used both light energy in terms of really focusing in on his craft and his skill set when it came to preparing for a boxing match, but he also was able to use dark energy and it was able to become either extremely antagonistic, or use the energy or the vitriol that came from his opponent, he used that to galvanize himself. Shane Mosley, another example of someone that used like that dark side energy, right? So it'll be interesting to see how Colorado uses this sort of this moment, these comments made by Colorado State. Are they going to turn this into light energy and use it to really hone in on their craft and their skill set and their scouting report, and hone in on that aspect in order to propel them to the necessary level they need to be at in order to play? Or are they going to use this to galvanize them from a dark side perspective, and use it to create tension between them and the opposing team? Are they going to use that sort of dark side energy to get them to that next level, in order to where they need to play at? And that's what this matchup is going to represent. I'm interested to see how Colorado uses this dynamic and uses those comments made, because when we look at the tail of the tape, obviously Colorado's averaging 509 yards per game as opposed to 357 by Colorado State, while Colorado State is giving up 556 yards per game as opposed to 441 by Colorado. And that's why I didn't want to get too much into the breakdown of it, because particularly I don't think this game is going to be close. I have Colorado winning this game by a score of 31 to 14. And I won't be surprised if Colorado is able to put up more than 31 points up on Colorado State. But I just want to use this topic, or use this segment in this matchup to talk about really the difference between how some athletes use that antagonistical approach or dark side energy to galvanize them and getting to that next level of playing, as opposed to some athletes who use what we call like light energy to shift perspective and shift focus towards like their craft and their skill set to help focus in on their match or their play, their game, in order to get them to where they need to be at. But guys, that is all we have for this preview between Colorado and Colorado State. In our next segment, we're going to be previewing Georgia and South Carolina and what this means for the SEC. So guys, stick around. You are not going to miss that.